this symbol. You, Skyfire, become a member of the exalted Decepticon forces.
Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about the NewAge 45EX Air Guardian Firefox. And this is their take on a very G1-esque. Jetfire is a repaint of their Firefox, like the 5th or 6th repaint, and it's a pretty interesting figure. It's fun to actually get to see this figure in the pose that matches the artwork that we've seen all along. But I did get this at Show Z. I'm going to have a link down below where you can get yours while they still have it. This is one of those sort of off-the-wall kind of things that I'm glad that NewAge does. But we're going to take a look at this. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, the pluses, the minuses. Of course, comparisons to Jetfire, Magic Square, and then the other iteration of this. And all that is coming up. Alright, so here he is in the packaging, and the thing about this is that it does have some reminiscent look to the G1 packaging. Of course, the G1 packaging, he's packed in alt mode, and he's not a sideways robot, but this is a sideways robot, more or less. And so, anyhow, that's how it's packaged. The side, we get to see more of the robot. I actually see the actual product everywhere. There's no artist render on the top, I guess. Would have been kind of fun if they had the transformation, like a few steps of the transformation on the top. More reminiscent, but still looks good. G1-ish. Outside of Seekers, I don't usually review the same mold multiple times, and so with this one here, it's definitely very important to me because I'm a lifelong Jetfire collector. Seems like Jetfire and Skyfire are getting a lot of love the last year and going into this year, so it's pretty exciting, and it's kind of hard to pass on any of them. But this is the NewAge version of the Air Guardian Firefox, and this Jetfire looking one looks pretty good. Now, let's get in a look at this real quick. I do want to go over some of the differences we're going to see, and as we go top down, I'm going to tell you what I like about it and don't like about it. And starting at the top, these don't really split. Like, they do split for transformation, but it's not like you can split them and it look like Jetfire. So that's one downside. Also, he needs the antenna on here. Although it does look like they tried, they didn't really achieve the antenna. You do get the face, and since we've already reviewed this, it's not really like we're doing a full-on review. We're doing more of kind of comparisons here. But here is the face. You can swap that face, and you do have to unscrew it. They give you a screwdriver to unscrew it. But seeing as how this is Jetfire, I don't see the point of it. We're not trying to do Skyfire. We're trying to do a Jetfire. But it's nice they included it if that's how you want to do it. There's the screw in the back going down a little bit more. So this is all tamper-graphed on. I thought there might be stickers. The only sticker is the QC sticker, which I'm going to leave it on there. I don't really care. Just all these little things. I notice there's this little... this is sort of something you see on some Robotech figures and all that kind of stuff on the shoulders. It's very reminiscent of the G1, and then going down they went with the clear cockpit instead of the blue, so that's more of what you saw in the G1 figures. They really did all the detail. You've got these accents right here. This is supposed to be the red nose cone, and then tamper-graph here. This is like the sticker, but of course I think it looks better than the stickers did on the original G1, which we'll do the comparison. Going down, we've got the knee caps, which sort of match. And then this, okay, now this is something a lot of people complain about on the first one, which I never really noticed, but there's no paint on the wheels, or they could have put wheels, whatever, but there's no paint on it, so it matches. But this does match, sort of like it's looks like die-cast. Would have been cool if they added die-cast to that, but it's not a deal breaker. And then going all the way down to the bottom, we have a painted stripe on there where we had a sticker on the original. We're going to see all this when we do comparisons, but on the side here, this is always kind of the masterpiece, and the legends just kind of have this little bit here, but on the actual G1, it's a whole leg guard that's on there. The gun is different than the other releases to look more like the toy gun, which is a nice touch to add a whole different accessory. And then they're known to do that. They're known to resculpt almost the whole thing. They've done this several times before with other figures and characters. It does have the black stripe around there that you will see when we pull out the vintage one. And so just kind of all the way along, it's like they did what they could. Let's see. Are these die cast? See, they're die cast on... Yeah, these are die cast. Yes, these are die cast. my other ones are not. My other ones, it's like, this doesn't feel like my other ones. My other ones are plastic. So I got the cheapo version, and then I've got this one. So all around, I think they did a pretty good job on him, deco-wise, making him look like the actual one. But I'm still having a little bit of trouble with the ankles. I'm not sure if I could tighten a screw, which I had on the first one. That was my biggest problem with the first one. So any problems that carried over from the first one, I'm not going to really hold against this one. But yeah, the ankles, maybe I can tighten a screw real quick. Okay, so I always say comparisons are the most important part of a review, in my opinion, and so when it comes to this, this is definitely most important. So I do want to point out that they literally just use the same head, and then we swap the face, and with that, we don't have the antenna that would be done with Jetfire. Now, is it them being lazy, cheap, or copping out, or is it that it wouldn't really work in the transformation, or is it they're staying out of Harmony Gold and Bandai's, well, staying off the radar? So I think it's a combination of all of that. I've already put out a lot of stuff before, but as you see, we kind of have this black square to sort of resemble the chest piece, what's going on, and it's just white right here. Now, obviously, you can still flip that around, and you can still put a faction symbol on there, but the faction symbol would probably go down here anyway, if you're trying to stick with Jetfire. And then it does look a lot more interesting because there's more going on with this figure than with this figure, but it does carry over pretty much everything with it. Got darker, so this is charcoal gray, this is like dark, almost black on the vents right there, and then down here, as we showed before, I showed this repainted or just recast in gray versus cast in white. And then from the sides, we can see the gun differences, and let's just kind of zoom in on those guns there. Guns, but this is like the double barrel that you see in the show, and then this is the single gun that you get with the Jetfire figure. So it does match it up a whole lot better than this gun. So it would have been nice if you had both, but I mean, then again, of course, there's costs and all that kind of stuff that have to be realistic. Just looking from the side here to see if there's anything I'm really missing that is different, and not much different to these guys. Yeah, pretty much everything else, like get the red stripe here and all that kind of stuff. Now we're going to the back, and of course this definitely, you can just see that looks tuned, and that looks more, I guess, more like what you would see with the old original Jetfire and all that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and compare it to the original Jetfire. Okay, so I probably pretty much already covered everything, but so this is another one of the Jetfires that I am working on restoring of my 11. I had 12 and sacrificed one, but it's interesting too, because this one I think is the most accurate stickered up of the ones that I own, so that we can kind of see what they did here. So it's nice to notice some of these details, as in that circle with a line in it right there, and we have the same thing going on right here, which is cool. You can see the shoulder pieces sort of match up really well. You do have these stripes and all that. Of course, this, I just figured they didn't really know what to do with that section, so that they just did what they did. And then coming down here, some of the stuff doesn't really quite translate, so they just got as close as they could all the way down. The knee pieces, that sort of matches, and then all the way down to the feet. So it does match really close. And then going to the side, as you can see, this encompasses the whole side of the leg. Right here, this encompasses the whole side of the leg. And I guess I was out of frame for the feet, so we'll come back and look at the feet again real quick. As you can see, that's how the feet match up. I was out of frame for that. All right, now, so this is kind of a Skyfire thing, and it would have been interesting if they would have gone the full way with the armor. Like, you can clip them on and then clip that on, but that would add a cost and stuff. So the arm pieces are missing, and then there's the back. So you do see they tried to make it look as close as they could. They've got the line in there and all that kind of stuff, and I still tighten that up a little bit. So yeah, there's still a few things here and there that they could have done different, but at the end of the day, for the price and the budget and what they did, it's really darn close to the G1. All right, so here he is next to the Magic Square, and so you can kind of get the aesthetic differences there, but a lot busier, a lot more going on, a lot cooler with the paint apps, paint scheme, and all that kind of stuff. But the Magic Square one does look pretty good, and it actually has a little bit more articulation to it. But this one here, I like the aesthetic of it a little bit better. It can go back and forth. If Magic Square made a Jetfire, I'd probably buy that Magic Square Jetfire also. And here he is, more or less, with a bunch of other figures you might have on your shelf in your Legends display, or not, but he is a little absurdly tall. Okay, so here he is in his alt mode. Let's get the appropriate angle on this, and it looks pretty good. We kind of know what this alt mode looks like, but it's just more interesting with all the paint apps that they added to it in. So I'm excited for this, and it's so surreal because I'm restoring 11 Jetfires this time, sitting on them for like 25 years, or the accumulation of them for 25 years. But I'm gonna say I got a few things about this. Would have been nice to have some sort of, like, they went with the circle and the line there. If they would have put a little bit more into on the wings, that would have been interesting that they would have done that, which they didn't. But again, they're probably trying to stay out of trouble with that. And then I know the original Jetfire didn't have that on the wings, but it would have been kind of a fun. It's like a Robotech throwback. The gun does still kind of clip in this port. This hole is just a screw hole down here that the gun clips in as maybe a happy accident or something along those lines. But anyway, it does have quite a bit of the black stripe here, black up here, and then the red stripe there, red on this back piece here and this side, just all over. Some of it doesn't really make sense. Like, this doesn't translate over quite as well because of the way the transformation is. It just doesn't really match the alt mode, but still, it's still cool. It's kind of fun to have this. It does have the opening cockpit, and there we have the seat, and I don't have anything small enough to actually sit in there. I actually tried a couple things. I think something called like a Zoider piece or something, but the landing gear do come down on the bottom, and they don't hold in place very well, but if you just set it and forget it, it'll be fine. The landing gear hold up if you just set it there, but if you roll it around or anything, it's going to collapse. Any movement, it's just slight movement, it's going to make it kind of collapse there. But yeah, it does look pretty good overall. I am kind of glad that we do have the diecast in it. We have the diecast in the heel spur also, so that's something I didn't probably point out earlier. But when it comes to this, let's do some comparisons. Yeah, it's comparison time. Here's the Mech Fans Toys, Mech DLT. It's you keep the alt mode alt and the bot mode bot. So this does look like, I think scale-wise, it's a little bit big for what I would think Blitzwing versus Skyfire or Jetfire, but in bot mode, I guess they match up and they align pretty well. So that's kind of cool. I mean, it's interesting to see different Legend scale jets go on. There's not the whole lot of the jets, the Seekers and all that kind of stuff. I guess I could have brought a Seeker up here, but they're so old, like nobody really has those in their collection anymore, the old McFans Toys versions. Okay, so here we go with what pretty much everybody wants to see. Everybody pretty much wants to see the comparison to the original G1. Let's get that landing gear back out of there. So, what are we seeing here? We see the nose cone looks about right. This whole section's a little bit longer, and the cockpit's a lot shorter than what you see on the original G1, but it does pay homage. So what it does is it pays homage. You can see here with the split twin turbo engine kind of things going on here, and then it's just one uni engine, mono engine there. The side, like some of this stuff doesn't really make sense as to the chest piece and the vent and all that on the side there. And just going on back here, this does kind of have that giant leg cover and all that, but it does give some of a reminiscent look to it overall. It doesn't match it 100%, but it gets the job done. It works. I mean, it's good enough. And this is just a slight different angle. And I do want to say I do keep one of my Jetfires in the alt mode because although Jetfire is a pretty well-built figure, flipping it back and forth, I do feel there are a few points that could break, especially with the plastic getting so old and getting a little bit more brittle over time. So I would suggest not to flip a G1 Jetfire back and forth too frequently because one of those parts could break, and as I'm repairing 11 of them, I can tell you specifically which parts are breaking. Ironically, I'm rolling into a Robotech video for my Retro Wednesday, and so I guess it just works out, a happy accident, so you can compare it to the Veritech Fighter right here that is more or less complete. And so with that, it of course is similar to Jetfire, but different in a lot of ways, and I'm working with this Veritech Fighter for some fun big projects coming up in a few months, but yeah, that's what it looks like next to the Veritech Fighter, and The Veritex Fighter is much bigger than a standard Jetfire. So, what do I think about this guy? I think it's a pretty good figure. I already like the mold. As you know, I liked the mold overall better than the Magic Square for a couple of reasons, just the way NewAge presents and just the overall aesthetic. But this did translate relatively well into a Jetfire versus the Skyfire. And a Skyfire mode looking like a Jetfire, I do like that they tamper graphed on everything and it's not stickers we had to apply. I do like that we can get a lot of poses that you really couldn't have gotten with the original Jetfire from back in the day in the G1. Although the G1 Jetfire is amazing, and of course the Robotech design, it looks good, this one does capture all of that and take it into the next millennium. Downside, it would have been nice if there was a way to split the backpack to look like Jetfire a little bit more, but that's really the only real big complaint on this one. Also, the head getting the ears kind of the way, the antenna would have been nice also. So there's a couple of minor things that could have been improved on this overall, but I'm still very happy as a lifelong Jetfire fan. Well, maybe not lifelong, but this is almost like a dream come true. It is a fantastic figure. I will have a link below where you can get yours. It shows you. Remember to put in the code TH for reviewer code to help out Titanium Hanger. And I'd like to know what you think in the comments below. Are you picking this up? Do you like this? Is it going to be something like this done in the Masterpiece scale? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Titanium Hanger out.
Cybertron.
And destruction to all Autobots.
Destruction. Something's approaching from the south. Autobots. You must be destroyed.